Welcome to another episode of Stockport Grammar School Talks Sport. Today, it's a real honour to speak to the guest we've got today because I grew up as a little boy watching her on TV throughout the Athletic. She really inspired me, so hopefully she can inspire you. So we've got Sally Gunnell, who was a former British track and field athlete who won the 1992 gold medal in the 400-metre hurdles. She's the only female British athlete to win the Olympic, the World, the European and the Commonwealth title. And she's the first female 400-metre hurdler in history to win Olympic and gold world titles and break the world record. So, welcome, Sally Gunnell.
Thank you very much. Reminded me of my past.
Yeah, so first question then, we'll get started. So, would you just be able to talk a little bit about your journey and to get to where you were today? That would be really awesome.
Yeah, well, I got spotted when I joined a club. It was my PE teacher who told me to join a club because I had that natural talent when I was younger. And then I was spotted by my coach, Bruce Longdon, when I was at my club, Essex Ladies. And that was it. It was like he coached Daley Thompson to his gold medal and he asked me to be part of his group. And the commitment started. And I sort of always sometimes look back and think, God, the dedication I had from that young age. And we used to travel up to Crystal Palace, which was sort of an hour away. And we used to do that 3 times a week. I used to get back at about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, do my homework, have very understanding teachers, which were brilliant. But always knew what I wanted, really. And then when I stayed on for sixth form, and then when I left the sixth form, I had to make that sort of decision about, because I was starting to get sort of junior internationals and get places, but of course we didn't have all the funding that there is now. So I sort of got a part-time job, wrote lots of letters to local companies to help support me. And then dedicated the next few years to working part-time, but also training twice a day and having very understanding employees. And then went out and literally achieved what I did. And I think it was I always used to set myself goals. And I think it was something that my coach always installed with me from a young age. And I think it's something that I do now, just naturally. I always need to know what I'm going to do, on a day-to-day basis. Even in lockdown, it's really important to have a meaning and a purpose that day and what I want to achieve. To when I was younger and running, it gave me confidence. That's what it was about. So I used to always, every training session, it was always about, right, he would always say to me, what do you want to get out of this session today? And I would feed back to him. It wasn't always his thoughts, it was always quite often mine, which I thought was really interesting. And then it was always about what I wanted to achieve in the next year, maybe represent Great Britain at the European Juniors or, whatever it may be. But it just gave me something to get out of bed for in the morning. It gave me that drive. It gave me that focus. And he allowed me to always think big. So right from that age of 14, I've always wanted to go to the Olympics. Whether I ever thought about I could actually do it, but I was allowed to by my parents and my coach to think big and have that dream.
As a younger athlete, the training obviously can be quite brutal sometimes in athletics. What was it that really attracted you to the sport?
Oh gosh, I think it was finding something that I was good at. I wasn't particularly academic, but I had to work hard at it. I was dyslexic as well, so I had to, I struggled with that side of it. But I think sport gave me an outlay and a chance to be, to be recognised by other people and my peers and that sort of thing. And I think that really helped. And then I think when I sort of started getting into, the training side of it, even though it hurt, I could see, some of the sessions were awful, but I could see the progression and I liked the feeling of doing a good session and how it made me feel afterwards. And I liked the way that I was improving as an athlete. So I think I just liked the journey of, that whole thing of where you could go with it. And also just, it was about being the best that I could be. That's what I loved. And I thought, how good could I be? That's how I wanted to feel.
So as a young athlete now coming through, what sort of what different challenges do you feel they might face to sort of when you were coming through as a younger athlete?
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult, obviously, with lockdown at the moment because clubs aren't quite there. But I always say that the best thing is to join a good club because then you get the specialist sort of coaching in whatever sport you're doing, not just athletics, but any sporting. I think it's very hard, and you guys would know that's sort of the next stage. You sort of start at school and you have a certain amount, and then it's like, you have the specialist coaches when you go to the clubs, which I think is really important. And then obviously there's lots of sort of pathways from there and competitions and clubs. And I think the biggest thing that I get from youngsters or from parents is the lack of confidence that their child has. And how nervous they get on the start line, or whether they're going out to compete or whatever it is, especially sometimes if it's an individual sport and not so much in a team sport. And I always say, do you know what? I was exactly the same. I was always really nervous, but I learned that was a good thing. And I think over my career, I realised that, especially as I got better, the days I wasn't nervous, I didn't run as well. So it's a good thing to spur you on, and it's a natural thing. And I think the thing that I learned is to always try and find a positive, because if you stand on the start line or you're just about to go and do a gymnastics and perform over the vault or whatever, if you stand there and go, oh my God, what happens if I muck it up? What happens if my block slip? What happens if I fall over? Then that's what you're going to do. But if you stand at the start line and go, okay, I'm going to try and run as fast as I can, I'm going to work on my arms, I'm going to make sure I've got good technique. I used to think a lot about what I want out of the race, not so much about, obviously the winning was great, but I would like what I wanted it to feel like, how, I've been working it in training, so I wanted to feel that it was smooth and I was in control, and my coach had shouted arms for the last, 3 months or whatever it may be. So that's what I was so that's how I got it, rather than thinking of always the negative. And I think that's really important, because, if you keep telling yourself that you're not very good and all these things are going to happen, that is what you're installing. And I think that's one of the lessons that took me years to understand, but it was the biggest change that affected my performance at any level.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that's what we're trying to push here at Stockport, actually, is that be the best version of yourself and give it the best shot. Because I always say to the kids is, if you walk into a session or a conversation and you leave thinking I could have done better, that's the worst feeling in the world. Whereas go into it with a positive mindset, with a smile, and leave with a smile. Then if you've done that right, you probably give it your best shot. So that's something we're really trying to push. So that's a good message.
Brilliant.
In terms of high performance, obviously you've been a high performing athlete and a broadcaster as well. How would you describe what high performance is to you?
High performance is, to me, it's about looking at all those little tiny increments which seem so insignificant, like what you eat, how you sleep, how you recover, what pillow I took to the Olympic Games. It's all those little things which they seem so silly, but they all add up to just the overall performance. And I think that's high performance. And it's the thing I learned that, there's lots of things that you have to have in place and all those things give you confidence, which I think is really, really important. And also those things that when things go wrong, they help you to pick yourself up because you have got those in place and to be able to move on. And I think that's one of the biggest skills that I had to learn, is that things will always go wrong. And, I lost races throughout my whole career. And the skill I had to learn was to learn something from it. I mean, I now know that whatever's going on, lockdown now, it's a challenge that's thrown at us, and it's always about finding a positive. Things happen for a reason, and I think sport taught me that. Yeah. And I think it's a really good mindset to have. So I knew that when I lost those races, I had to think, right, what went wrong? How can I stop that from happening? What can I put in place? And the skill was that I wasn't still I don't know, 6 months down the line, saying if only I'd won that European Championships or whatever else, I was on to the next thing. It was about learning to put it behind you, find a positive and move on. And I think that's a massive skill as well.
Sally, have you got any specific examples of that, what stand out in your mind where you did have a setback, and what did you actually do then to correct that setback and move it?
Yeah. I mean, there was many. I mean, when I was younger, I had a foot injury that took me out for the whole season, and that was really hard because I wasn't seeing my friends, wasn't going on the bus to the club, and to races. I wasn't at the English schools, which is one of the major sort of school championships, and I really felt missed out. And I think that's when I could have easily have given up. I was at that sort of age of 15, 16, and I could have easily have given up at that point, and it crossed my mind. But I think also what I did learn is that I loved it, and I liked that feeling of competition. I liked that feeling of being with people, and it was more of a social thing than anything that I was getting out of my sport in some respects at that age, which I think was really crucial.
Yeah.
And and I just think, and that was when I was younger, and then I should have won a Europeans, and I was 6th in the race, and all because I became complacent. I thought I was better than everybody else, thought I didn't have to put the work in, all those sorts of things, and I learned from that you're only ever as good as your last performance, your last race, and it's a blank sheet when you go out there, and you have to keep putting that work in.
No, definitely, because it's hard work to build up to that moment, but to undo it can take, it's very little, isn't it, to undo it? So hard work's so important. That's good. And then on the flip side then, like, you've got so many accomplishments during your career, but what stands out to you that you're most proud of, and why?
I think the Olympics is the ultimate, because that's what I dreamt about from 14, but I think breaking the world record and winning the Worlds the following year was the one that I learned more about myself. And I always look at it was the toughest race, because, all of a sudden you are an Olympic champion and you are the favourite, and the pressure is enormous, very, very different to the Olympic year. Everybody expects you to win. The whole of the nation is watching you and all those sort of things. But also I was ill, and I didn't have the ticking of the boxes that I had in the Olympic year. I came down with a cold, and I nearly didn't put myself on the line. I just thought I had too much to lose because I was Olympic champion, and I sort of made myself go and race and use the mind again. And I think when I won and broke the world record, it just sort of shocked me, just how what we're capable of achieving with that positive mindset, and that's what got me through that race that day. And and it's just like, wow, I need to use this in whatever I'm doing in life. So definitely.
Yeah. When you crossed that line and you realised you broke the world record, what emotions were going through your head and your body?
It was really different to the Olympics, where the Olympics was just complete accolade. Yeah. This was a little bit of disbelief and a bit of shock, and a little bit of like, how did I do that? I sort of like shocked myself almost, and it was like, wow, gosh, that is amazing. And just very, very different, two very different races. And I probably did, as I said, I learnt more from that World Championships than anything.
Role models and people who have influenced you in your life, and you probably have many, but have you got any that you'd like to share with us, and the reason why?
Yeah, I had massive role models. I still do. Really important to inspire, to look at other people and see what they're doing and to look up to. I had a girl that started off, when I first started, it was sort of watching Daley Thompson and people like that. Then I had a girl that did the 100 hurdles. She got a silver medal in an Olympics, Shirley Strong. And then all of a sudden I was competing next to her at a Commonwealth Games, and I just remember thinking, do I let her win? Do I just follow her down the track because she's amazing? And my sort of coach just sort of said, right, go and run your own race. And so I beat her, and then I had to have and I had somebody else. It was really interesting. So that was when I moved to the 400 hurdles. And of course, Ed Moses, who is an amazing 400 hurdler, and he won over 100 races in a row, which, you know, I know that is the hardest thing to do, and he was, you know, breaking world records. So he inspired me. And then I went through a stage of once, that was sort of throughout my whole sport. And then as soon as I came out of sport, it was very much more successful women, really. And I think this is where I'd sort of gone into the business world. I was starting to have kids, and, you know, how people were balancing that work-life balance. And yeah, and I met so many inspiring women from all sorts of lives. You know, there wasn't sort of one in particular, but there was so many that were running massive organisations. And yeah, and I was just like, wow, that's amazing. They've probably got 3 kids at home or whatever else. And so, and you know, even now I still get inspired by some of the women that I meet more than ever. So I think it's really, really important too. So yeah, never too old to have, yeah, sort of people that inspire you, role models.
So when you look back at your career, what would you say is the achievement that you're most proud of? You obviously won a huge amount of things, but there might be a race which you had a difficult build up to and you pulled out a result which you weren't quite expecting. What would you say is the biggest sort of proud moment you've had?
Gosh, I think it's really hard, isn't it? Because the Olympics is the ultimate, you know, that it's only every 4 years. It is what I dreamed about. It is what everybody remembers me for now. It never goes away. And those games in '92 were in Europe, and it was just packed full of British people, and it was on at sort of 7:30 at night, so everybody remembers where they were on that night. So yeah, I think that was, you know, that's my proudest moment. And you know, and it's still amazing so many years on that you still talk about it and people still remember it, which is just crazy. And I, you know, it's lovely to still live it in this, you know, now.
What are your 3 non-negotiable behaviours that you'd expect from yourself and other people you come into contact with?
Gosh, 3. I think number 1 is to have that positive mindset. I think, you know, it helps in everything from getting out to exercise to, you know, how we treat people, to how we see ourselves. I think that's really important. So I would say that mindset, having that positive mindset, believing in yourself, I think, whether they all go under 1, I'm not sure. I think it's about, I think something that I had to learn after sport was about, you know, because sport can be quite selfish, because especially when you're at the top, it's all about what I eat, what treatment you have, what training you have. We have people running around you. So I think the thing that I've learned is to be kind to others. So yeah, just be generous, ask people how they are. And I think that's something that I've had to purposely install in my life since retiring. And I think it's something that didn't come naturally because of sport, which has been quite interesting, but something that I've really wanted to do. And what would the third thing is? I would just say, enjoy what you do. You know, the day that I stopped enjoying what I did was the day that I retired. And I think it's really important that we have to enjoy what we do, because then that's when the success comes.
And then if you could step back into Sally Gunnell's shoes as a 12-year-old girl starting Stockport Grammar School, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
Oh gosh, I would, that's really tricky, isn't it? I would say, I think it's that thing of being nice to yourself. I think, you know, it's a horrible age, and I think we always really put ourselves down, and I don't think social media really helps. And I think it's, you know, and I wish I had a bit more confidence as a 12-year-old, and why I didn't have that confidence and how it held me back from doing so many different things. And I think it was the thing that I had to learn to get me to where I was doing, and it took a long time. And I wish I had that a little bit more as a 12-year-old, and had, I don't know, maybe I was never taught how to do that or how important that was, or we didn't talk about it like we did now. But I think it's about, yeah, just not giving yourself a hard time and being kind to yourself and not judge yourself. I think that's what I would like to have been able to do more at that age.
Just one thing for me, there's an awful lot of uncertainty at the moment. We've got a lot of pupils, sort of GCSE and A level, whose exams are slightly up in the air. There's a lot of athletes who are looking for Tokyo Olympics, and that's still slightly hit and miss. How do you keep your focus when your sort of goal at the end of your focus is still not quite there? It's not secure. How do you keep going?
Yeah, it's really difficult. Yeah, I mean, I've got a 15-year-old who's GCSE in, and I can see what he's going through. And 1 minute he's okay, and then the next minute says, "What's the point?" So it is about keeping him motivated. I think it is going back to there is so much uncertainty, and I think it is about just taking each day at a time again. And even we don't know what the results are going to be or where we're going to, and it's out of our control. So I think the other thing is it's about only being in control of things that we can control. We can't worry about what those results are going to be. We can just work hard at what we're doing now and look after things that we can control now and not worry about all those things that are completely out of our control. And I think that's, with the uncertainty now, as I said, it's quite hard to look ahead and think about, the goals and Tokyo. And I know my husband coaches a lot of the elite athletes, and, he's got 3 guys, and it's really hard for them to know if they're going to go to Tokyo. Mm-hmm. But, we keep saying to them, there will be races. There will be some form of racing this summer, and it's about, still training now because you're still learning new things. And, it is something that you can control at this minute. So it's just, it's controlling the controllable, isn't it? And not worrying about all the things that just are over there, and nothing that you do can affect those. So why even go there? And I think that's really key.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, because that's something I'm trying to sell to the current pupils at the moment as well. Is, like I said, you control the controllables, but actually try and reframe your mind a little bit. You're not doing it for the exams. Try and reframe it. You're doing it because you love to learn and you've got that passion, and try and think that positive mindset there with that. So that's brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. And I think it is. It's a, and if you can have that now and a skill, it helps you when you go on to sixth form or, university, or get a job, an apprenticeship, whatever else, isn't it? And I think that's what is so important. Is what, I always say about Marley, my son, is like, it's what he's learning now in this difficult time will really set everybody up for later.
Yeah, no, awesome. No, we'll say thank you so much for your time. Personally, it is a true honour. Really, really appreciate it. And if you're ever in Manchester, let us know. You're always welcome here at Stockport Grammar School.